Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Iris J. This is Madrona's Pulse Teachings, and I am chatting with you about the Capricorn full moon. This is happening on July 21st, and she's a mighty one, folks. She's a mighty one. So this is our second Capricorn full moon in this Cancer season. Our first one came just after the Cancer solstice, and there we had our Capricorn full moon. So moon in Capricorn, sun in Cancer, right at the very beginning of those signs, so around 1 degree. And now we're having our second Capricorn full moon, and it is at the end. It's at the 29th degree. Okay, and the 29th degree in astrology is a very significant degree. There's a lot of stuff out there on the 29th degree. And this is not just a 29th degree Capricorn full moon. This is a 29th degree Capricorn full moon conjunct Pluto. And that kind of says it all. And it's not even all, because there's also a lot of other aspects that are going on, and it is a very, very potent, powerful time. So let's talk about it. How are you doing? I'm super curious how you're doing. You know, another really significant aspect that's happening is that this full moon is coming after we've had the Mars-Uranus conjunction. That's also conjunct the fixed star Algol, and that's happening at 26 degrees Taurus. Happened at 26 degrees Taurus, depends when you watch this. I'm filming this before that was exact. So that conjunction is also still radiating outwards, and that is in Mars, and what Mars is doing is also playing a big role in this full moon. But we have to start with the fact that we have a full moon conjunct Pluto. So coming into the Cancer Capricorn axis, right? We are nearing the end of Cancer season. So with our sun in Cancer, we are really coming into questions of nourishment, questions of nurturing. I really like to explore that through the idea of what does radical nurturing look like? How can I claim a space for radical nurturing in my life? You might need to claim a space for radical nurturing in your life during this full moon. And in Cancer, we are with water energy, we're with the emotions, we are in our full inner world, we are exploring that inner world through feeling and loving the sensitivity that allows us to move in a watery way with Cancer. The opposite side of Cancer is our Capricorn, and this is where the full moon is. And so with the full moon there, we usually say that something's being illuminated in that area of our life. If you know where you have Capricorn, if you know where you have 29 degrees of Capricorn on your chart, then this is very significant in that kind of aspect of whatever house you have that in. But just working with that axis of Cancer, of Capricorn, whereas Cancer is that very flowing, watery inner world, Capricorn is earth energy. Capricorn is a very complicated earth sign. It is, on the one hand, how we accomplish things out in the world. It is our goals. Sometimes we say that a Capricorn full moon is a great time to check in with our goals. I'm going to come back to that one, though. Let's just hold that. Let's put brackets around that. Pluto's got something to say about that. And Capricorn is very much how we move through the material plane. That said, Capricorn is also a very deep sign that connects us to an elder wisdom, that connects us to literally the boundaries between what is known and unknown in this world. How we know that there is a shifting timeline, and we know that there is a reality beyond that timeline, but we can't understand it in the same way that we can understand everything up into that world. And Capricorn is what helps us find boundaries within this world. It's what allows us to move through our whole life and have goals. And Capricorn journeys are all about, ultimately, usually for a while, kind of being conditioned by the social norms of our cultures that we live within and move through, and then learning how a lot of those norms are actually disconnected from the natural rhythms and the natural boundaries that can create an incredible embodied life of meaning and richness and abundance in a whole different way. And so Capricorn also usually involves the journey of reclaiming our kind of inner elder wisdom that connects us to the ultimate boundaries that are going to support us on our spiritual journeys. And so boundaries that connect us to our spiritual journeys, we want to support those. We want to think about those. We want to feel really deeply into those, because this is at the final degree of Capricorn conjunct Pluto. Okay, so Pluto is retrograde right now in Aquarius. It is at 0 degrees and 54 minutes for this full moon. And Pluto is on its way back to where? To 29 degrees of Capricorn. So this is really significant. This is really significant because in September of this year through to November, Pluto is going to make its final move back into Capricorn, where it entered Capricorn in 2008. We're talking about a 16-year cycle coming to an end. And this full moon is illuminating that end. It is a closing out. It is a deep release. It is not just a release, it is a cathartic, plutonic closing, which is always a transformation, because Pluto talks about how we use the words death and rebirth with Pluto, but Pluto also signals how there is ultimately no final death, because we are always transmuting into another form, whether it is kind of what we usually call is the metaphorical deaths that we go through in this life, and some of us have a lot of them, and especially if we have a Plutonic chart, we have a lot of them, or it is that death of life in this body when we transition into our next journey. And so Pluto is that transformative journey. It is that moment of the transformation. And there's something that's being illuminated here about the cycles in our lives that are closing out. And here, where you do have 29 degrees of Capricorn, is going to give you insight into how that's what's coming up for you there. But this is speaking to the fact that Pluto's going to come back to this degree in September, October. It's going to station direct, and then it's going to leave in November. And then Pluto will not return to Capricorn in our lifetime. And it will move into Aquarius. And we have got a wild, wild ride the next 20 years. We have gotten like a tiny, tiny little glimpse of that through conversations and happenings around AI and technology. And we are going to have a lot of talks about that. But let's come back into the Capricorn part, because that is what is being illuminated right now. And so what in your life is really coming to a close? And it's not over yet, you know, and it's not necessarily even that in September and October, for some of us, there is going to be a fully a door closes and something is not coming back to. For others, we're still going to have energetic kind of resonance of it, but we're going to know that we have moved into another chapter, into another manifestation. And so we're getting some insight. It's almost like you could think of this full moon as a pause. Now it's a mighty pause, and when we're in it, we might forget that we're pausing, but it's a pause because we get the opportunity to feel in to the cycles that are ending, the cycles that are transforming. Capricorn is all about cycles. It is all about the earth wisdom that is cycles, that for the most part, especially mainstream society, completely ignores in the way that it has organized our work life. It has organized the meanings of success. These are all concerns of Capricorn, and part of the Capricorn journey is unlearning what humans have done in terms of kind of creating an artificial idea of what we can align success to and the meanings of our lives to, and coming back in through the body. Capricorn is earth energy. It's literally getting into our bones and bone deep wisdom. It's wonderful to do meditations and kind of go into like the depth of bone marrow and find the wisdom that is in there that connects us to being a species in this ecosystem and the natural rhythms that when we use something like astrology, which is so helpful in kind of realigning our psyche and conscious and body mind conscious to these rhythms, we often come into an entirely different life, an entirely different pace, an entirely different consciousness of what success is. And all of that is the 29th degree. All of that is kind of the coming up of the 29th degree. And then we move into the sign of Aquarius, which is coming into radical alignments of how society can be formed and how an individual can birth this kind of rebellious, break the status quo and keep evolving spirit. It takes us into a whole different realm. But at that 29th degree, we are in this opportunity for such incredible reclaiming. And so Pluto is here conjunct that transformation. This is a bit of a death cycle. There is something in our life that we are entering into a goodbye with. And if I say that and it comes up for you and you know that what that is, then you want to write it down and you want to do some ritual work with that around this full moon. You want to write a letter of goodbye, or you want to go to a sacred spot for yourself in nature and even speak out loud what you're letting go of, and do it with love. Because we have a Cancer sun at the 29th degree of Cancer, which is the opportunity to embody the most nurturing, unconditional love that we can embody, okay? Especially in a felt personal sense, okay? There's a different type of unconditional love that happens in Pisces, but in Cancer, it is of this human realm. It is absolutely of this human realm. And so we want to hold that Cancer wisdom of the sun at 29 degrees during this full moon, especially because of how powerful and potent it is, and really bring a loving, compassionate gaze to whatever we feel is closing out. Remembering that this is part of a cycle, okay? So it's not fully over, but this is the beauty of ritual work, because when we do ritual work and when we do it aligned with in this case, the full moon, we enter into a liminal realm and we open up to very powerful moments that actually do change timelines, that do bring healing. And so even though we're still journeying with this cycle and it's really coming to a close when we have Pluto making its kind of requiem in Capricorn, what is this fall for where I am in the northern hemisphere, we are getting kind of a taste of that, a foreshadowing of that. And so we really want to honor that. Also knowing that Pluto conjunct a full moon could bring up a lot of emotions. It could bring up a lot in the body. Pluto is in Aquarius. That is the nervous system. Capricorn is literally the body. We really want to ground. We could be having a lot of emotions come up. It's a wonderful time to purge them through journaling, again, through whatever ritual work works for you. Because there could be, there could be a lot being unearthed. That Pluto could be working with that final degree of Capricorn to unearth a lot. But whatever is getting unearthed, it needs to come up and it needs to go. This is not about holding on. It's actually can't really be held on to. And so if we're trying to hold on to it, if we're not doing the emotional release, if we're not doing the material release, we're going to create discomfort. We're going to create emotional discomfort. It's going to play out in the body. And so really, that's why the ritual work and the honoring and the entering into the journey of goodbye could be really important, powerful, and necessary at this time. Now, we have some other things going on. So I mentioned Mars, so let me talk about that. So Mars will have been conjunct Uranus and the fixed star Algol. And then for this full moon, Mars has moved into Gemini. And Mars is conjunct Sedna. Okay, so as if it didn't get any more powerful, we've got Mars conjunct Sedna, and it is trining Pluto. So this is beautiful. This is incredibly powerful energy that is all about transformation. And Mars here in Gemini is also opening up, you know, especially with Pluto and Aquarius in that trine, we can get some ideas around what's happening. It's not just emotion. It's not just something being felt in the body. There's an opportunity here potentially to name, if it wants to be named as we let it go. There's an opportunity to really match thought to feeling to whatever is emerging in our kind of liminal realms, and to work with that. And the work with that is releasing and transforming. Okay, again, it's not holding on, it's releasing and transforming. Sedna is an incredible story of transformation. She is also a story of an archetypal wound. In her story, in her Inuit story, she is wounded by her father. And actually her life comes to an end because of him, and he chooses his own life over her. I have a video on Sedna because I just talked about her when she moved into Gemini, so I'll link that below if this is your first time kind of on my channel or listening or hearing about Sedna, or you just want to remind yourselves, because we can never be reminded of Sedna enough, especially when she's trining Pluto, and she's trining Pluto. Which is a very special moment for us, because the two of these together, Sedna and Pluto in their trine, you know, is all about transformation. It is all about becoming something wholly other than what we have journeyed as. And yet that wholly other that we're becoming, we were born with the seed to become that. Sedna was always born with the seed to be other than what was expected of her for a woman in her culture. And what that actually became through a very traumatic journey is the ocean and the goddess of the ocean and the wisdom of the whales. And Pluto also speaks to archetypal wounds and the way that they transmute from life to life if we open up to past lives, and the way that we are here to transform. And, you know, Sedna is very far from us here on Earth, and she's galactic energy. And that's why when a personal planet like Mars comes and is conjunct her at a full moon, trine Pluto, while Pluto is conjunct the moon, Sedna is speaking. And Sedna is speaking through Mars, through this active drive to understand and make contact with what we're releasing. So it's a wonderful time to do your journaling. It's a wonderful time if you have a trusted therapist or friend that you talk about some of the deeper spectrums of emotions, because Sedna and Pluto, a full moon conjunct Pluto, we're talking about deeper spectrums of this journey. Okay. Mars is also in a sextile to Neptune at the 29th degree of Pisces, which is just reiterating that there is a lot of support holding us while we're in what is a potent transformative moment. Okay, so I think it's important. Sometimes in astrology you hear like, oh, it's a trine, everything's wonderful. Okay, so especially like when we're talking, I'm always like, let's just remember, if we're talking about a trine to Pluto, we're talking about the transformer. So we're still transforming. It's just happening in a way that is ultimately more supportive than, say, Pluto acting in a conjunction or something if we're having a personal transit. But here, just because it is a lot of energy, it's a powerful full moon. And yet Neptune is there in this cosmic song, bringing in kind of a slowing down, because Neptune is retrograde at the final degree of Pisces, which is again, another final degree coming up. And there we're talking about the ultimate, all that is, that's about to birth the first breath of life. Okay. So it's a lot of energy. We've got a lot here. We've also got Mercury, who is in Leo, squaring Uranus, okay, and also squaring Mars, but Mercury square with Uranus is pretty exact. And so there, you know, given the energies that we're talking about, given that we've got Pluto conjunct the moon, and now that we have Mercury square Uranus, the Mercury in, you know, in Leo square Uranus, we really want to use that mindfully to clue into, again, what wants to be expressed for us, what wants to come up for us. Mercury square Uranus with all of this energy could also very easily go into projecting words onto others. This is energy you really kind of want to just, if that's coming up, you want to go home. That's coming up. You want to go into your special spot. You want to nest up and, like, come on, it's final degree of Cancer. You want to do your Cancer nest with your animal or your partner or whatever it is, and or just be with the pillows, because this isn't energy to explode onto another person. And if we're doing this, if we're taking care, that Uranus square Mercury, that can open up downloads, that can open up a channel, that can open up information, especially having just had this conjunction with Mars that goes straight into our heart. That's how we really want to work with this square, that goes straight into our heart and then gives us the messages that we're needing to receive right now. And so that's a way to really work with that. And again, for that to happen, we usually need to cultivate a space. We need to come into our own rhythm. And during this Capricorn full moon, you really might want to do that. And I'm just remembering as I'm coming to my kind of final words that I said I was going to come back to that idea of goals and whatnot with Capricorn and a full moon, because this is Pluto. Okay. And so, you know, while it's lovely to say a Capricorn full moon's a great time to look at all your things you want to check off and accomplish, this is a pause. This is a pause because something's closing out. And some of the things that we had on our to-do list for the year or our 5-year plan, we might not have had the complete mindfulness or the complete openness at the time to realize that, oh, that's actually part of the version of myself that I'm letting go of. That's part of the old paradigm of me trying to climb a social ladder and exhaust myself to check off boxes. And even though it can be good to accomplish things, we need to accomplish things in different ways. Some of those projects and plans that we had and those visions are probably also part of what Pluto is in the process of closing out. And that is fully happening in September and October of this year. And then Pluto will station direct. So it really is a time to also be really honest about what maybe we can let go. And that might happen really easily if we really come into the ritual of we recognize the parts of ourselves that we are letting go of, the parts of our lives that we are letting go of. And then the little projects that might not be so little, but even if they're part of work or there's something we've been working on, when they're driven by a much bigger part of us, that is that part of us that was taught these things and was trying to perform in a certain way, and we're saying goodbye to that, and we're coming into a beautiful journey of saying goodbye to that, well, then it becomes a lot easier as we say goodbye to that to say, no, I don't need to do that. I'm going to go do this because that's really where my heart's at. Okay. So it's a potent time. I am sending blessings, and I will see you soon. Full moon blessings.